Welcome to the Itch Network. Today, Ninja and I are reviewing Die Hard. We're going to take a deep dive into the movie that stars Bruce Willis and Alan Rickman. It's actually his first movie. So this should be pretty exciting. This one is a favorite, I think, of Ninja's. So I'm sure he's excited. He's got a lot to say, right?
Yeah. Very endearing movie.
Yep. Ninja, how are you doing today?
And I hope we can do this movie justice for family and friends out there that really love this movie.
Tis the season, right? Or maybe not. I certainly have some things to say about that as well. But before we get into the movie and the things surrounding it, I did want to bring up the last show. Did you get any good feedback from the last show where we talked about the thing?
Yeah, people like the pretty colors that you put. The display was really well edited on that. So yeah, not too much feedback. How about you, man?
Not a whole lot. Make sure you go check it out if you're in the mood to look into the thing or the way that we talk about movies in general. I think that's our starter video. It's got a couple obvious audio issues, but other than that, I think it does the movie justice. Okay, let's get started. Um, let's talk about the movies and works that come prior to 1988. There was a book called Nothing Lasts Forever. It was written in 1979. It's an action thriller, and it's a sequel to a sequel to a book called The Detective. Actually, why don't we talk about The Detective first? I didn't even think about that. It's actually older. Um, let's
The
talk
movie
about
with Frank Sinatra.
yeah. The Detective it's based on a novel called The Detective, and the movie for it was released in 1968 with Frank Sinatra. Um, it's New York City Police Detective Joe Leland, played by Frank Sinatra, when in the movie, is called to the home of a murder victim who has been beaten to death, head crushed, and has had his genitals removed. Puzzled and disgusted, the police on call are left bemused, and Leland holds things together with his direct, no nonsense approach. Kind of a different change of pace, and not something I would expect from a 1968 movie slash book.
Back a little bit there too.
uh, Genitals removed. When you think of Frank Sinatra, you don't think of that.
My headspace doesn't go there immediately.
Remember that movie with Frank Sinatra where guy got his genitals removed? Oh my god. That's insane. Let's move away from that. Oh my goodness.
Okay.
Next up came a book called Nothing Lasts Forever. It's by Roderick Thorpe. And this one seems a little bit more familiar. It stars the same person as in The Detective. Retired New York Police Detective Joe Leland, him again, is visiting the 40-story office headquarters of the Claxon Oil Corporation in Los Angeles on Christmas Eve, where his daughter Stephanie Leland Gennaro works. We see some familiar names in there, but Leland, obviously, once the movie was released, was changed to McClane, John McClane. Tell me about the history with this and Frank Sinatra, please.
Frank was legally they were legally obligated to offer Frank Sinatra the part to Die Hard because it actually is the sequel to The Detective. So oddly, although the book itself is based more upon what the actual movie is, but instead he's visiting his wife instead of his daughter. But Frank was up to his 70s when they were making this, so he declined at that point. But I would love to see an alternate universe where he takes the part at 70 and tries to jump off a heist,
Would that not be the
a
best
building.
movie?
Yeah, jumps off a building with the fire hose wrapped around his waist.
I would watch the shit out of that movie. That sounds great.
Track and like it'd probably be a musical slash action slash like it'd be like 8 different categories. Uh,
Slipping some romance in there with a 7-year-old man. That'd be
so,
incredible.
I don't know. Frank Sinatra's pretty beloved. I don't know what kind of dirt on him, so I guess he could do. He probably could do no wrong in most of whatever he touched. So.
All right, let's move on from that because that was 1979, and just a couple years later, we get into a very currently beloved decade, the 80s. I'm technically an 80s baby, but late 80s. I was 88, so I'm really more of a 90s child. But the 80s had a lot going for them in terms of action movies. Let me read off a couple of these and then I'll let you kind of take over because you said that you were a big 80s action guy. We got, I'm just looking at literally the top 8 movies here. And actually, ironically, Die Hard is number 1. And then we have The Terminator, RoboCop, First Blood, Predator, Aliens, that's with an S, Lethal Weapon, and Commando. What's your opinion on 80s movies, especially 80s action movies? And who are some of your favorite action stars?
Put Aliens with an S because the first one's more of a horror movie, and
Mm-hmm.
the second one is an action movie. Uh, henceforward, I like that one a little bit more. So I mean, you have Superman 2 and The Empire Strikes Back, Return of the Deadeye, Max, Escape from New York is one of them too. Being John Carpenter, linking back to the first podcast there.
And that was like 81 or something? That would
I
have
don't
to
have
be
the specific. Yeah, I don't
very
have the
early
specific.
80s, if it was.
Yeah, very early, and then Lethal Weapon, Big Trouble in Little China, Beverly Hills Cop, which also I have all three of those, which I like. Even though the third one, don't watch the third one, just watch the first and the second one. Conan, uh, Batman. I don't know if I did like the Goonies and stuff. It's more of a comedy.
Yeah, I think the trend I'm looking for here is like really macho action movies, but
So
yeah.
I'm gonna kind of like go toward Die Hard's success. One of it is that he's not the typical '80s action guy. He's not Arnold or Stallone or Van Damme. We'll even say Steven Seagal out there. So because this movie Die Hard is gonna spawn Die Hard on a plane, Die Hard on a boat, Die Hard on. It's basically there's a lot of it out there. I'm not just talking out of my butt. This is gonna be like Die Hard everything, man. If you look back to it, Under Siege is Die Hard on a boat, like Executive Decision, Die Hard on a plane, like it's gonna make more Die Hards, which do switch location, and you're gonna see that this was a great. This was great because of the location, which it is the actual Sony's headquarters. Oh, Fox. I'm sorry, Fox's headquarters.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I don't know who owns who these days. I think Disney owns me. I think we're gonna have a tie Disney Plus in about 15 minutes.
You
Yeah.
didn't get your barcode?
Uh, not yet. I think I get it
Oh,
next
okay.
Thursday.
Yeah, go to the
Uh,
DMV. You got to get it by 2021.
or I expire. Mickey police come to get me.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's a little bittersweet too because the '80s is really the last, kind of the last dying breath of the action genre, and oh god, there's so many things that go along with it. But I'll just throw out like the special effects and the Matrix, a few things that kind of and just the times changing and stuff are really what kills the action movie or makes it have to reinvent themselves and kind of evolve from that. So, um,
If you could pick your lineup, who's your top 3 action stars?
really, and the whole thing about Bruce Willis, this is his like first action lead. I'll go with Bruce because he's like that. He's very relatable and everyman dude. He doesn't have 6-pack abs. He has uh male pattern baldness, a little bit. He's dedicated to the job. He's letting kind of other things fall apart. It's pretty relatable stuff. So Arnold, I think Arnold, I mean, just so charismatic and great roles that just seem to fall in his lap.
Yeah.
I think Stallone's more the discount Arnold in a way. I think they're just always kind of going back and forth. And Stallone's more of a better writer with the Rockies, and I think he just brings a little bit different.
More cerebral.
Yeah. So,
if that could be a term to be used for 80s action movies.
Harrison Ford, the Indiana Jones, which then later Brendan Fraser kind of does his thing with that genre.
Mm-hmm.
I'll say I don't know if they all had to be a guy, but I'd say Sigourney Weaver, man, in Aliens is a really strong female lead and an action hero.
I agree.
Although
I think we've talked about it, but probably never on any recording. I'm not a big fan of Aliens. Not to say it's bad. I've tried to watch it like 3 times because I'm a big Alien fan, and I always fall asleep.
Mm-hmm.
It puts me to bed.
Well, I think it trades off the suspense from the first one because we've talked about how much you like the first. Well, they're both pretty good movies in their own right, but they're definitely different.
All right, let's keep going. Let's talk about the director, John Campbell McTiernan Jr. Let's take a gander.
So he did Predator and Last Action Hero were 2 good movies. I really like Last Action Hero because it's a satire. I love satire with RoboCop and what's that little independent film called Starship Troopers?
Peter Verhoeven?
Yeah,
whatever. Yeah, looks like okay. I'm pulling up all his movies here. Really took off around now. Nomads is his first movie, 1986. I've never seen that. Predator I've seen, 1987.
I'll have to add that to my list.
Predator 1987, that was a great movie. Die Hard is his 3rd movie. Wow. Then he's got The Hunt for Red October, and we're easing into the 90s where I'm a little more conscious of things. You can even see some of these Die Hard with a Vengeance. Is that Die Hard 2?
I think that one's like Die Hard 2 or Die Harder. It's The Vengeance, I think, is the one with Samuel L. Jackson.
Oh, okay, so he didn't even direct the sequels, except for this one. Oh, and looks like he stopped.
Yeah, because Die Hard, it's just called Die Hard 2.
His last movie was 2003, called Basic. Ooh, and he did Rollerball. Ooh. Not that I've seen it.
FYI, yeah, it's not very good. It's a remake. Die Hard 2 is actually called Die Harder, so just FYI.
Interesting. Well, it sounds like it's got a sense of humor.
Vengeance is actually going to be one of the better ones anyway, because they have Samuel L. Jackson. So,
is this your favorite movie from him? After kind of thinking about those movies.
Yeah. This. I mean, it's like Predator and Die Hard are pretty tied up in there, but
actually,
I've probably seen.
This is kind of unfortunate. He was charged with making a false statement to an FBI investigator in February 2006 about his hiring the private investigator Anthony Pellicano to illegally wiretap Charles Roven, the producer of his film Rollerball, around August 2000. He pled guilty.
Really,
and yeah, it looks like he's been wrapped up in legal problems. Surrendered to federal prison on April 3rd, 2013 to serve a stated 12-month sentence in the federal prison camp. Man.
Make good movies when you're in prison, I guess. So they got a prison kids. Let's learn.
And he's had some stints with debt and bankruptcy as well. That's unfortunate. He made some really, really phenomenal movies. It's kind of sad that he ended up not being able to hold it together, right?
Well, idle hands, man. He should have just kept making Die Hards. So.
It was that Rollerball, I tell you. It ruins everything.
Went off the track. I guess you could say it rolled off the track there.
You could. Let's not though. So next up, let's talk about Bruce Willis, the man of the hour. He was born 1955. He's an American actor, producer, and singer. Did you know he's a singer?
Yeah, Bruce is real passionate about his singing and stuff. I think he plays an instrument too.
His career began on the off-Broadway stage in the 1970s. He later achieved fame with his leading role on the hit television series Moonlighting.
That's basically what he was known before this role. So people were a little.
And that was a comedic thing, right?
He's a great smart ass. He's a professional smart ass. Basically, he gets paid for it. So
You know what's great about Bruce Willis? He doesn't look like an actor. Like he looks like he walked in on the set and they just plucked him. But he's so good.
it looks like he's on his way to his bowling team.
Yeah.
Gonna pick up the kids probably after that and his divorce.
He very, very much looks like he would rather be doing something else in like literally every movie I've ever seen him in. Which is to his credit. To his credit, I like that. It's like he's not like hamming it up. He's just acting really well.
So he was like in this movie is probably the best acted because this is when he's trying to prove himself because he's not. This is his first like action role, so you can tell he's putting it up on the screen in this one.
He was in a really great movie, obviously, Pulp Fiction. He was in 12 Monkeys. Did you ever see 12 Monkeys?
I've seen that. I've seen Pulp Fiction so many times at work. That's on repeat. I've seen both. I've seen Pulp Fiction a lot more than 12 Monkeys. 12 Monkeys is a very cerebral movie.
Yeah, that's a good one. The Fifth Element. I never saw that movie, but people told me it was great. They're like, if you like Star Wars, you'll like this movie. And I said, well, I like Star Wars a lot more.
It's a pretty big. It's a pretty big like cult classic and stuff.
Mm-hmm. Armageddon. Wow, I remember that. That makes me feel very old. Very old.
The Aerosmith song.
Yeah, I was just thinking like that's the big thing.
It's pretty much, yeah.
Close my eyes. Don't want to fall asleep. I tell that to my girlfriend every day. He was in Sin City. That was a great movie. Awesome.
Comic book adaptation and stuff. But also, I think it's whoever directed it did really well. So
that was what's his face? Oh God.
He does a lot of based on like Frank Miller's work, but then also a lot of stuff. All Frank Miller's work works pretty well on the screen if you get a very visual director.
Man, why doesn't this show me his movies? Because I want to go. Oh, here we go. Okay, let's talk about his movies. 1980, he did The First Deadly Sin. That was his first movie. Starring Frank Sinatra, by the way. That's a little.
Wow, so he probably didn't know. They probably sent him over, and he probably was like having a drink with Frank. Like, yeah, you don't want to be in this movie, do you, Frank? It's like, no, he's on his Rascal scooter. I don't even know if they had Rascal scooters back then, but big plug at Rascal scooters. So if you like mobility, get your Rascal.
Get Rascal, you rascal. Anyway, next up we got The Verdict, 1982, and then little brief hiatus, I guess, for movies. But 1987, Blind Date. A 1987 romantic comedy film starring Blake Edwards and starring Bruce Willis in his first leading film role with Kim Basinger. Basinger? I know of her. I just never know how to pronounce her name. Earned mostly negative reviews from critics, but was a financial success at the box office. I guess you put a pretty girl in there, you'll do all right. He went from Blind Date to doing Sunset and Die Hard the next year. Of course, he, as we mentioned, he was mostly known for his comedic roles at that time because he was on that television show Moonlighting. He did that from 1985 to 1989.
He does Hudson Hawk too, which is a really silly movie too. So,
yeah. The reason I believe he was able to do Die Hard was because his co-star from Moonlighting was pregnant. Where did I see that?
I don't.
What's that lady's name? Well, Yeah, they were gonna have trouble filming it because they're like, well, we need you because obviously TV show you kind of got to be there a little more often. But she ended up getting pregnant, and they're like, well, you got 11 months because maybe they gave her extra time afterwards for I don't know whatever women have to do with babies. And there you go, Sybil Shepherd, who, by the way, is a dead ringer for Captain Marvel. What's her name?
Introvert that's annoying to everybody, and I don't really like her because she
Yeah.
wasn't good cast. Love brought. Oh my god, yeah.
Isn't that wild? Like, exactly the same. I saw Sybil Shepherd recently in. I watched
Did
it
you do
because
like a side? It's Brie Lawson.
Brie Larson. Yeah,
Yeah, it's such a weird name. I don't remember my Brie. Isn't that a cheese?
yeah.
Yeah.
That is just mind-boggling. It's the exact same person.
Did you see? Did you see like is she related or something, or like far cousins or something, or did you
I don't
see
think so. I don't think so.
Shepherd? Huh?
But my God, it's absolutely uncanny. Absolutely uncanny.
Mm.
Although when she was a teen, she kind of looked a little different. I'm seeing a picture of that. Anyway, so yeah, John was able to get to film the movie Die Hard, and it's been a classic. And there's only one other actor I really want to talk about before we get into the actual plot of the movie, and that is Alan Rickman, who most people know, especially me, as Snape from Harry Potter.
Went on some good roles of he's the sheriff of Nottingham in Robin Hood in 1991. Galaxy Quest, which is a fun movie, 1999. I bought that for a friend of mine that's a pretty big sci-fi fan. Great cast too. Sigourney Weaver's in it. The guy that played the monk on USA is in it. So
The monk?
yeah,
You mean monk?
yeah, or monk or whatever. Yeah, I obviously haven't watched that much, but
Yeah.
um, yeah, Alan had a great career. Really taken. He was only 69 when he passed away. So really great work. Everybody sounds like he's a really nice guy actually too. And this is actually one of his first real roles too. He's more of a stage actor, and you kind of see that come through. He's very
He is so good in this movie. It's crazy. Yeah, this is his first movie. He actually didn't want to do it because he thought he'd be typecast as a villain, and I guess in a way he kind of was, wasn't
good at something. People want to keep seeing it. So
he? Yeah, yeah. I don't know if that's a bad thing, but he specifically didn't want to, but they convinced him to do it. For the love of movies, I'm sure it was a big bag of money for a starving artist. He's like, oh, that much? Okay, I'll do it. And yeah, he turned an amazing performance. Even able to fake in kind of a goofy way in English, like a regular American accent.
they think of the accent stuff. Yeah,
It sounded pretty goofy, but it did sound like a person. I'll give him that.
script's kind of written where he's somewhat likable villain. He's really not to the extreme.
Oh yeah, like he'll talk to people and he'll like bring out tables for him. Like the pregnant girl needed a chair or like a sofa.
But empathetic villain, which you don't see that very often. So
Yeah, you'd think, especially at that time, you're like, ah, the pregnant girl will die or something, or she shoots her or something.
yeah, the '80s did kind of have that product of the Saturday morning cartoon villain that was pretty one dimensional. So
Yeah, he took it in a different direction, which was great. I loved it. All right, let's start talking about the movie that we're here to talk about, Die Hard. Let's talk about the alternative options for John McClane. Because I looked at this and I was pretty stunned. I didn't realize that this was like, it was clearly set out to be a big deal.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go through these names and you just tell me if something sticks out here. It should. Richard Gere, Sylvester Stallone, Harrison Ford, Mel Gibson, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Clint Eastwood, Robert De Niro, Charles Bronson, Don Johnson, Richard Dean Anderson, and Michael Madsen. All of these people declined the role of John McClane.
You know who Richard Dean Anderson is known for?
I do not.
MacGyver before he did Stargate, because
Oh.
MacGyver was a lot of episodes, a lot of series. I kind of grew up watching that. I love that show anyway because it had like a positive message. He always fixed something with a Swiss Army knife, some tape, a ballpoint pen. You know, they do a SNL does MacGruber and
Yeah.
stuff based on it. Anyway, I
I
could
mean, it's
see
got its
that
own right.
like,
It's got its own like term, right? Like I'm gonna MacGyver this
oh yeah, there you go. So it's in the pop culture. So
lexicon.
it would have been a different movie, I think, if he would have been in it, definitely. And then Arnold, it really would have made it a disjustice with Stallone, Arnold. Most of the big action, I could see Don Johnson kind of being similar to, but De Niro, I don't think De Niro would. They probably got a stunt double to do most of his stuff, man. I don't know.
Back then, like Taxi Driver, that was in the neighborhood, right? Or was that the mid 70s?
You
That
know,
might have
he's a
been the
lot
mid
older.
70s.
Is he a lot older than Bruce though? Maybe I'm just thinking that because I saw that Netflix show and he just looks really old in that because he is old. All those guys are old.
He's
So
definitely old. Um,
Clint Eastwood, there would have probably been 17 lines of dialogue in that. Oh, no, Mel needed
Clint
to go
Eastwood
off.
wanted to direct, I read.
It's better as a director than an actor than anything. Unpopular opinion, fight me. Harrison
Same cowboy.
Ford. Harrison later does Die Hard on a Plane anyway, a few times.
Oh, you're talking about Air Force One.
Yeah, Air Force One. There's executive. There's a whole list. Charles Bronson. Nah, because he did all those death wishes and stuff.
Gotcha. All right, you ready to
Oh,
start?
who's this?
Oh,
Oh my God, Michael Madison. I just had to look him up. The
Madsen.
Kill Bill guy. Yeah,
Yeah,
Reservoir Dogs, Hateful. Oh, okay. Yeah. I got you.
he would have been interesting in this one.
Oh, I'll give that. He would have, yeah, him, Richard Dean Anderson, and then Don Johnson would have probably been the top three to like
How
make a
about
pretty
Richard Gere?
get. He was in there.
Richard Gere is the first one on here.
Just like blanked him out of my mind. No.
Although people probably would have said that about
Oh,
Bruce Willis at the time, right?
no.
Wasn't exactly an action star.
Yeah, he's not very good. Like what? Pretty Woman, Chicago, The Jackal. Let's see him in the Jackal. Let's move on from there. Nah, just solid no.
All right, let's start talking about the movie. On Christmas Eve, NYPD detective John McClane arrives in Los Angeles, intending to reconcile with his estranged wife, Holly, at the Christmas party of her employer, the Nakatomi Corporation. McClane is driven to the party by Argyle, a limousine driver. While McClane changes clothes, the party is disrupted by the arrival of a German terrorist, Hans Gruber. Before we get to that, before we get to the terrorist, although they clearly say he's not a terrorist in the movie, but let's talk about Argyle. What's your thoughts on Argyle?
I think Argyle goes on to later do some movie roles. Everybody kind of goes on and does really successful things after this. Argyle is basically, if it was modern day, he'd be an Uber driver because no one gets a limousine anymore, do they?
No, but I'm sure rich people do, but yeah, that I don't think so. Argyle's name is Devorah White. Doro. It's one of those weird French names. I'm sorry. I can't tell you.
It has that thing on it. Yeah, I got you. I'm seeing it on IMDb also. Yeah.
He was in the Blues Brothers, Max Duggan Returns, Die Hard, Trespass, Shadow Hours, and Sandbar. He had a good television run. Whoa!
And I'm pretty sure they got some Blues Brothers, man.
And he was, speaking of Uber, he was in Workaholics 2014 as an Uber driver. Probably a reference to that movie.
There you go. Maybe I was predicting that. Or I do like Workaholics. It's a ridiculous show.
Yeah.
So I just saw an episode where Jack Black is like the cousin, the. No, it's a big spoilers thing anyway. Watch Workaholics. It's a funny show. Definitely, if you ever worked in a cubicle farm.
Bruce, Bruce Willis is not very not very nice to Argyle at first. He says stuff like, "Just why you keep to ask me questions? Just drive." But Argyle keeps going, and eventually, I think wins him over, which is kind of cute.
In the front too, which shows like what kind of class he is. Like, and again, an everyday relatable guy instead of sitting in the back.
Yeah. And then Argyle like drops him off, and obviously McClane is like, "Well, this could go pretty bad." And technically, he didn't have a ride home, so he was like, Argyle goes, "I'll just wait in the parking lot, and you give me a call if you want to ride back." And that's where he would be pretty much till the end of the movie. It's kind of funny. He's very that's pretty good on him. He waits for like what, 4 hours, 5 hours, something like that.
Yeah, pretty much the whole day and night, like pretty as long as the movie goes on. Which, yeah, I mean, I guess this is before like Lyft and Uber again, or I mean, I think he doesn't want to screw up. I don't think Argyle wants to screw up because I think this is his like first gig or something as a taxi driver.
Yes,
I
it's
mean,
his first ride.
a driver. So yeah. So he probably doesn't want to downgrade to be a taxi driver than a limo. I assume there's like a hierarchy of like limousine.
He's at the big time.
Is like the highest. Then he's downgrading if he's taxi, and then I guess like I don't know what it would be in the '80s if you were, I guess, kidnapping people in a van or something. Because again, they didn't have Uber or Lyft. So
Yeah.
please do not remake Die Hard in this modern day. So
Yeah. Oh, there's so many things that would screw up on. All right.
so
While McClane changes his clothes, he's at the party. The party is disrupted by the arrival of a German terrorist, Hans Gruber, and his team. Computer hacker Theo, Carl, and Tony Vresky, Franco, Alexander. I did not know they had all these names. It's kind of funny. Marco, Christoph, Eddie, Uli, Heinrich, Fritz, and James. Why they each need names is beyond me. The group seizes the tower and secures those inside as hostages, except for McClane, who slips away, and Argyle, who gets stranded in the garage. This is where we get our first.
Are you feeling sorry for Argyle? Like, he's a nice limousine. I think he's got refreshments.
Yeah.
He's not a small child in a windowless van. Like,
Wasn't he drinking in that car?
Or something? Yeah, I think there was like I think that's included. I think that's pretty much assumed that there's going to be alcohol included in
a
some,
limo.
like maybe some sodas or a ginger ale if you have an upset stomach after air flight. We are really fixated on this.
Should Argyle? Let's talk about this a little bit. Should Argyle be drinking while he's supposed to be driving?
I don't know. It's his like first job, man.
Okay, another question that kind of gets back to what is the deal with these names? Why do we need names for these guys? I will say that they're a little bit more than just cannon fodder, which is really refreshing. Some of them are. I couldn't tell you which. The computer hacker was cool.
Yeah, because
and then you got the brothers. To me,
yeah,
that's
spoiler.
Yeah.
Yeah, spoiler alert. One of Carl lasts for quite a while there. Kind of comes back with a vengeance.
Oh, so you know their names.
But
when I mention their names, you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah, because Carl's brother dies and he comes back. Again, spoiler, he comes back after you think he's hung. And
that's such an 80s thing.
By that, so, yeah.
That's such
they'll come back. The villain comes back when you think they're dead or something. Yeah, I mean, he could have been like shot full of like nail. There could have been nail guns or something. Oh, and by the way, this director that does it, John Campbell. So his thing is always having at least one environmental kill. Is his thing. Yeah. So he had to. So Bruce shoots everybody, but like he does have like two scuffles, but one of them is an environmental kill. That one being Carl, well, supposed
Guess it's not a
kill.
kill, is it? It's close.
Yeah,
Like it's
but
supposed to be.
but anyway, this is like that director kind of has this ongoing theme of his movie. So
Very cool. It's gonna be useful in that prison cell. That was mean. That was mean. Gruber interrogates Nakatomi executive Joseph Takagi for the code to the building's vault and reveals that he plans to steal $640 million in bearer bonds, with the terrorist act merely a distraction. Takagi refuses to cooperate and is killed. It's important to note here, I believe he does not what's this McLean is actually watching this, but he doesn't actually see anybody. Like see the faces, right? Or specifically he doesn't
yeah,
see Hans Gruber's face. And that'll show up later for a reason. I like at this point that he hasn't really. I don't believe he's killed anybody yet. He's kind of just sneaking around. There's a couple of times where I guess I'm kind of hardwired looking at some of these where it's like, oh, you could just run down this hallway and gun your way down, your way through a couple of these guys. But he doesn't. He's very stealthy and is mostly just sneaking around at this point.
yeah, the movie's very cat and mouse. I think that's why it's very successful. So
McLean secretly watches but accidentally gives himself away and escapes. He sets off a fire alarm and attempt to alert authorities, so Gruber sends Tony to investigate. Of course, Tony would end up being our first victim. Their fight is weird because you think he could just kind of shoot him, but they more go for a scuffle like you were talking about and end up rolling down a flight of stairs, which you don't usually see that being like the killing blow is just rolling down a flight of stairs. Usually it kind of keeps going from that.
people in some fights and movies will do it. It's actually made me a fear of stairs as I grown up. So
You're scarred?
usually the typical like neck snapping when you roll down the stairs or something. I don't know. I'd never like known anybody to do that. I mean, people have rolled their ankles and stuff, but wasn't that dramatic.
We're going to talk about this quite a bit, this building. So before we get any further, I did want to bring up Nakatomi Plaza. Of course, that's a fake name. The actual name is Fox Plaza. It was built a year prior, and they were still working on it during the filming of this movie.
Finished areas, it was just like it just worked out perfectly. So
yeah, it's been in other movies too, which I found interesting. Fox movies, of course. In the 1988 action film Die Hard, it was filmed as Nakatomi Plaza. The plaza and a neighboring building are the main setting for the rock and roll comedy Airheads.
I wanted to watch that the other day. It was on a streaming service. So. It's a funny movie. Brendan Fraser. It's got some other good actors. I think Buscemi's on it too.
Really?
Yeah, Buscemi with those big bug eyes, man. Even though he's a hero because he is actually a firefighter and came back September 11th. So don't get Buscemi too hard.
He's one of those guys you wonder how he ever made it. I mean, I'm not saying he's not talented, but you wonder.
He's an
it's such a
looks guy.
It's like a looks industry, and he is not a looker. Him and Danny DeVito.
Yeah, he's got. Danny's kind of so short he could play odd roles. Like the Penguin was kind of made for him, I think. So
I guess.
And then he looks exactly like Arnold's twin, just like the movie. So just a shorter version, right?
They're pretty much a 1-for-1. You're right.
Yeah, 1-for-1, exactly. Perfect ratio. Yeah.
Some more trivia.
But anyway, I'm sorry.
Oh, no worries.
Anyway, go see Airhead. Airheads is pretty good. Again, and Brendan Fraser. I wish he was back in other movies, but
was that Adam Sandler?
He had
in there
like
as
a
well?
lot of
or is that was that?
Oh yeah, Adam Sandler's in it, but really Brendan and everybody else. Brendan's the lead in that actually. You're right, Adam is in that.
Fox Plaza. Go ahead.
I'm actually looking forward. So Adam Sandler, his lately his movies have been pretty crap, but there's like this, I think Hard R movie that he's in that I keep seeing because I went. Yeah, because me and the wife went and watched Ford versus Ferrari for her birthday, and we keep seeing this preview everywhere of this Adam Sandler movie. It's not Grown Ups 3000 or whatever sequel he's on in that. It looks good, and I really hope it's good for Adam's career because it's like
because he's the only thing a hard life.
Yeah, so the only thing I've liked him in is that Transylvania series where he's the voice of the Dracula that owns the hotel. So, but anyway, so
We're gonna move on from
yeah,
that.
I'll let you go on from that. So,
Fox Plaza was also one of the buildings brought down at the end of Fight Club. Um,
oh yeah, Fight Club has that beautiful ending with all the explosions and stuff.
the building is also used for corporate offices of Chimera Gas in the surrealistic road movie Motorama. I've never heard of that. And is also
That makes
portrayed
us both.
as the headquarters for Spencer Publications. I should know about that. On the soap opera The Bold and the Beautiful. It's also in the Fox comedy series Brooklyn Nine-Nine, which I'm a big fan of. I like that show.
New season's coming in February, I hear.
Excellent. I'll be there. And the exterior of the building was used in 1987 Charlie Sheen film No Man's Land, and in the 2001 episode of X-Files Essence, and in Lethal Weapon 2. So it's got some roots in movie history, this building.
I have all the Lethal Weapons. I got that last Christmas, so I will go watch Lethal Weapon 2 and verify.
Okay. Yeah, double check this. It is Wikipedia. I've heard some not so great things about it lately. All right.
Uncut Gems, if anybody wants to know. Uncut Gems is the new Adam Sandler movie, so.
That's right. McClane kills Tony, pocketing his weapon and radio, which he then uses to alert the LAPD. Sergeant Al Powell is sent to investigate. My God. It should be noted, by the way, I saw this movie on Wednesday. I saw this movie on Wednesday, and it was my first time seeing this movie. And when I saw Powell, I was like, oh my God, he's in this movie. He is such a warm actor. Who is he?
That's a good description. Actually, I just saw a video of him visiting where they filmed it at, and he's a lot older now.
Yeah.
And he was so thankful and like about that part, and he just had such good memories. I mean, he's from Queens, New York.
Yeah.
He's a little guy. He's like 5'8". He's just
Is he really?
Yeah.
He has such a big personality. You would never guess.
Yeah. Look at Cruz and stuff too, but I think they put apple crates under him. So, yeah, and he's known for that. The Family Matters, right? Yeah, he's known for that. And he's a police officer in that. But he just loves this role in this thing. I think he kind of got to know Bruce and stuff through this quite a bit. So, and you know what's so funny is the movie they don't see each other until that final end of it.
But the chemistry's there.
Yeah. So to be able to do that is pretty awesome to say for his acting. So, and then Die Hard 2, he's only in a brief cameo, unfortunately.
Oh.
So,
well, his name is Reginald Vell Johnson, and I love this guy. I don't know how you can watch something with him in it and not just smile. He's wonderful.
Mm.
He's actually in a Die Hard video game, Die Hard Vendetta. Voice and likeness only. What else is there? I'm very confused, but all right.
But there are a few Die Hard video games, some better than others and stuff. I didn't know if we're going to cover that or not, but there's...
we ain't.
Okay, yeah. There are some out there. Just go. You can probably find them.
Cash-ins, I call them. Okay, so Gruber sends... Yeah. Gruber sends Heinrich and Marco to stop McClane, who kills them both in some pretty good shootout scenes. Is this the one where he shoots them through the table?
If you're gonna shoot, be quiet or something like that. Probably. I haven't seen it in all. I didn't see it just yesterday, a few days ago. So
yeah, one of them was like, "I'm gonna shoot you through this table," and he's like, "Good idea," and then just shoots him right through it.
Yeah, it's got. It's.
He may not look like an action star, but he's got the one-liners down. I'll tell you that much. Powell arrives and is greeted by Eddie, posing as a concierge. Finding nothing unusual, Powell prepares to leave, but McClane drops Marco's corpse onto his patrol car, to gain attention while Alexander strafes the car from the building with an M60 machine gun. Powell summons the
Frustrated.
LAPD, who lay siege to the building. McClane steals Heinrich's bag containing C4 explosives and detonators. That was unexpected.
Frustrated because leading up to that, he's on the phone he's trying to get a hold of the cops. Like, hey, lady, am I sound like I'm ordering a pizza? You know, blah blah blah, and they go and check it out and stuff. So,
Yeah,
but
that was
yeah, because I mean,
yeah.
he's isolated in this building, man, and it's up to him. So
When he throws that corpse, I was totally. That's not what I was thinking would happen at all. And it's kind of funny because he throws the corpse down, and for some reason, Powell like puts on the reverse on his car and like just keeps going. He does not stop, and then drives it like off a little, not a big.
you know,
cliff.
I would do the same thing, man. I'd be freaking out too. So
I guess it's like I was just watching it like, are you gonna like stop going in reverse ever? And he just kept going and then crashed his car. That was
they're shooting
that
up
was
too.
awesome.
So
James and Alexander, again, these are more crooks, use anti-tank missiles to disable a SWAT armored car before McClane drops C4 attached to an office chair and computer down the elevator shaft, blowing up their floor and killing them.
it's one of those older CRTs, which technically do keep a capacitive charge. Just get technical with it. So, and he does put like 4 different detonator charges in it. So I think he overly does it. So it technically could work. Could work.
I got a little side note: the explosions in this movie look great. They look phenomenal.
Oh, they're all practical. They probably almost killed somebody in them. It's
Oh, the 80s. Holly's coworker, Harry Ellis, attempts to mediate between Hans and McClane for the return of the detonators. McClane refuses, prompting Gruber to execute Ellis. This is a great scene. I think this might be our first really great scene showing off Alan Rickman's acting skills. You don't know what he's thinking. Ever.
Mhm.
I think that's one of the most amazing things. He's so polite. He doesn't come across as like evil per se. He's like just listening intently. He doesn't like call him an idiot, even though clearly he is. He just very politely does it and then eventually just shoots him in the head.
Well, yeah, because the guy is pretty sleazy and stuff, and he's treating it. He gets that Rolex for his wife and everything. So I'm talking about the not Alan Rickman's character, but the sleazy coworker that's
Yeah, Ellis.
doing bumps of. Ellis is doing bumps of cocaine when
Yeah.
when he walks in on him, you know. So, but I mean, again, it is the '80s. It is a product of that time. So the yuppie businessmen that do cocaine, American Psycho.
Yeah, exactly. I guess we can get to it now. Well, no, let's save I have a question for you about it, but we'll talk about it later. While checking explosives attached to the roof, Gruber encounters McClane. Remember, McClane never actually saw Gruber's face, so he doesn't know what he looks like. Gruber masquerades as an escaped hostage. McClane offers him a gun, and Gruber attempts to shoot McClane, but the gun is empty. Carl, Franco, and Fritz arrive. McClane kills Fritz and Franco, but is forced to abandon the detonators. Okay, so this had a couple implications. First, let's talk about this meeting, obviously, of Gruber and McClane. Gruber puts on a fake American accent, and it's kind of great.
Yeah, it sounds like he's from like the Midwest or something. So
Hey, how's it going? I just escaped. I don't even know if that's what it is. It just sounds goofy. And so
well, he's very groveling at the beginning of it. He's like, "Oh, don't shoot me," you know. Don't. He's playing the part of it. And I think before he asks his name, I think he's looking at like a list of something, or he gets his name, he pulls it from
yes, with the
actual
office directory.
thing, yeah, office directory, man. So it's almost like a Peter Griffin Family Guy moment where Pete's like he's in the library, and he's like, "Oh, a Griffin of this."
well, it was genius though.
No, I mean it is, yeah. Instead of just saying like Tom Smith or something.
Because then what Bruce, or I say Bruce, but John McClane does is he reads it off of that. Now, is he reading it? I guess maybe it could go one of two ways. He's like, "Oh, you just read that off the thing," or he could say, "You're actually a person that works here." That's kind of how I took it.
Credibility, yeah. Well,
Like,
I think it's done that way for, again, great movies. It has that open interpretation of it. So
yeah, and of course, our hero knows he's fake the whole time and gives him no ammo for his gun, which was great.
I think it's just John also just not being a trusting guy at this point.
Do you think he would have given him nothing, even if the guy was a good guy or an escaped hostage?
I think I would have too, because he's on his emotions are running high. He's on high alert. He doesn't know how well he's trained in it, because he says, "Oh, I've been at like a pistol ranch or something or whatever." So he's very inexperienced. And when it comes to handguns, sometimes it's better to. Sometimes people can be a hazard themselves if they're not properly trained. So
Yeah. Okay. FBI agents take command of the siege, ordering the building's power shut off. This, as Gruber anticipated, disables the vault's final lock. Gruber demands a helicopter on the rooftop for transport, but the FBI prepare to double-cross him by sending helicopter gunships. McClane discovers, and this is because he realizes what was Gruber looking at the roof. Discovers that Gruber intends to detonate the explosives on the roof, faking the deaths of his team so they can escape with the bearer bonds. While making final preparations, Gruber sees a news report by intrusive reporter Richard Thornburg that features McClane's children and deduces from a desk photo that McClane is Holly's husband. This is where I want to ask that question. In this movie, not only is John McClane versus Alan Rickman a thing, it's kind of John McClane versus society in a way. It seems like half the people that interact with him outside of the building are also screwing up.
I mean, the police aren't giving him credit. The only one that's really going for him is the Sergeant Al. You know, he's like the only one on his team, really.
Yeah, he's got the FBI guy who's like doesn't believe him.
painted painted idiotic. They're idiots. Like, they don't trust him. They think he's he could be a not a bouncer or a bartender or whatever. Because something about Al's bringing up, oh, he could see a fake ID, and it's like, oh, well, bartender could do that and stuff. So they're really discrediting him.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, also Ellis is there to kind of screw around with him. Of course, he dies, but
Liability the second he walked, he saw him. So,
and then you got the reporter completely revealing his identity. So it's kind of it's really interesting because you kind of expect it to be him versus McGruber, him versus Gruber, but it turns out to be something even bigger than that. The obstacles just kind of keep mounting on him. Just kind of adds to the intensity of the movie. The criminals order the hostages to the roof, but Gruber takes Holly with him to use against McClane, who defeats Carl in a fight before heading up to the roof, killing Uli in the process. He sends the hostages downstairs as the FBI appear and shoot at McClane. Believing him to be a terrorist, Gruber detonates the explosives, destroying the roof and the helicopter. McClane barely survives. This Carl is the one that he hangs, right?
yeah, he's the older. I assume the older brother of the guy that he killed before and stuff. So that's why he's really taking it personal. The saying his wife sees that how upset he is, and he says only John's alive because only he can make somebody that mad. So he really kind of show his character.
It's unfortunate I'm reading this and I skipped over a really important part. I didn't skip over; it's just not in here. So somewhere during this, I'll just say, there's a scene where John is in like an office area and he's surrounded by glass. And the reason it's important is because they shoot the glass and he has to step through it. Do you remember that scene?
Because he has to. He's saying it in like it's gibberish, but they're speaking. They're supposed to be speaking German, and he says like in a really like you know how you would say in another country you don't know their language, so you would speak louder and slower.
Yeah.
Shoot the glass, and I think it's because he doesn't understand his reasoning behind shooting the glass, because um he's the only one that's seen him up close. He knows he doesn't have shoes.
Right.
Taken back. Well, why would you shoot the glass? If he has shoes, he'll be fine. There's actually a scene, if you do it quick enough, you can see Bruce has like fake feet on. um, but yeah, this scene is. I saw a quote and it said there was so much glass broken in this movie that it paid for somebody's college tuition.
Oh my
on
God.
it. But that's a big deal of 80s action movie, was almost like your worth was how much glass you broke. Because if you've never seen that, I really wish I was joking, but like if you've ever seen RoboCop, there should be, it's a drinking game. How much glass is broken every time a window is broken. There's a lot of these action movies in the 80s, they love breaking glass, man. It is a common trope among those. I mean, even later that Wayne's World parried is it like, oh, what are you guys doing? Oh, we're just walking back and forth with this sheet of glass until something happens. Like I don't know. It's probably a director's thing about showing impact or something. I don't. It's
Well, it works. I'll say that. I love that scene. I thought that was so smart. It showed again. Alan Rickman is one of those enemies that's kind of a cut above the usual goofy cartoon villain. He's a little more intelligent.
yeah. He's adapting to the situation and using it. And that's really what matters, is being resourceful, not being just evil, I guess.
Theo retrieves their getaway vehicle, an ambulance, before Argyle hits the ambulance with the limo and knocks Theo unconscious.
There, he is the unsung hero. There you go.
That's funny.
There you go, Argo.
A wary McClane finds Holly with Gruber and his remaining men, Eddie and Kristoff. After knocking Kristoff unconscious, McClane confronts Gruber and is ordered to surrender his machine gun. McClane does this to spare Holly, but distracts Gruber and Eddie by laughing, allowing him to grab a concealed pistol taped to his back that contains 2 bullets. McClane wounds Gruber and kills Eddie with a shot to the forehead. Gruber crashes through a window but grabs onto Holly's wrist. Gruber raises a pistol in a last-ditch attempt to kill the pair, but McClane removes Holly's wristwatch, and Gruber falls to his death. That was kind of clever. I like that, the way that all connects, that she has that wristwatch from Mr. Ellis, and she's losing
the coke
that.
fiend the coke fiend that's trying to win his wife's heart.
Yeah. And he forces her to take it off, and it's kind of symbolic of them they're gonna make it work or get back together, assumedly, or whatever. And it also kills Gruber at the same time, which is good.
Oh, can I so I want to add a little trivia to that. So Alan Rickman's character, Hans Gruber, that was the last scene that they intentionally did. This is the last scene that he shot for the movie, because they normally drop him 1, 2, 3 on the third one. Well, even though this is only 40 feet high, only 40 feet high, that's still really far, onto a bag, they drop him on like the count of 1. That's why that's not acting. That is the general fear that is in his eyes. So they did that as the last scene because they felt that he would be upset at that betrayal of it. At the end of it, he would be upset about it, which rightly be so. So that was really smart to do that as the last scene for it. So that is like a great scene. I mean, there's a quote like, it isn't Christmas until Hans Gruber's dropped off the Nakatomi Plaza Tower. So
well, outside McClane.
So
also, go ahead.
Oh yeah, I'll leave it to the end. I have some more trivia, but
okay. There's like two more sentences here. Outside, McClane and Holly meet Powell. Carl emerges and attempts to shoot McClane, but is killed by Powell. That's such an 80s thing. Argyle crashes through the parking door in the limo. Thornburg arrives and attempts to interview McClane, but Holly punches him before she and McClane leave the area with Argyle. One little thing I was thinking about is what happened to, what's his face, in the ambulance?
Oh, was it the hacker that was driving it?
Theo the hacker.
Mm.
He's just still there, probably, to this day.
I guess so. He's probably just still knocked out. They'll eventually find him.
Yeah. Anyway, that's the end of the movie. What you got some trivia for me?
Let's explore. So Sergeant Powell, the whole thing about him shooting he took himself off the street, being a street cop, because he shot at a small kid.
Mm-hmm.
At nighttime. It was hard. It was a gun that looked real, and it being the 80s, it could have looked real, because I don't know when they start putting the orange tips on guns. So I know that's a big deal now, is having those orange tips. I think even conventions people go to in cosplay, you have to have orange tips and all the security behind it, because they made some pretty realistic BB guns back then. So his character, it's kind of, I guess, kind of a healing moment when he does, even though he's shooting the guy, he saves McClane, which he's only known through the walkie-talkie and stuff.
Yeah.
Through the radio. So I think it's kind of goes full circle, and he saves his life again, really. There. So I thought that was a really good story arc for. So he kind of seems like a minor character, but he's got some great moments. Like I love the comical moment of like the judgmental gas station clerk. Like he's getting all the Twinkies and stuff, and he's looking at him. He's like, what's up with that look? It's like, oh, this is for the wife. Like, sure. Like, dude, just let him buy Twinkies. It's free America, man. Just let him. If he wants to buy the whole store Twinkies, just let him do it without judgment. Jeez.
Yeah. Wow. The last thing I wanted to talk about is the great debate on this one. Is this or is it not a Christmas movie? I think we're going to have some contention here.
So a little while back said it's not a Christmas movie, but I think it's just Bruce Willis trying to rile people up. This is on the top 10. This is number 7 on like Rotten Tomatoes Christmas movies. I don't know. It's been a while since then. It might be even higher or lower and stuff. But
well, why do you say it's a Christmas movie? Because I look at it. I look at a Christmas movie, and I look for themes about Christmas, like family values, giving, like be kind to one another.
How is this not a Christmas? How is this not about family values? This guy puts his life on the line to save his wife. All these people he doesn't even know. So,
but the other part of it is that it usually involves Christmas things.
Well, they are in a Christmas party, so
yeah, it's a Christmas party, but usually it involves like snow. It's usually some magic, an element of magic involved. I mean, I guess you could argue there's magic here. It's unlikely this guy would ever be able to do this, but.
Well, what I was going to say is there's a great YouTube video of the amount of damage that his character receives, and he would have been dead probably 13 times over. So that's the movie magic of him not taking much physical damage.
Is that just an 80s action movie trope, though? 'Cause I feel like that's kind of a thing for all 80s action movies.
Dying. Well, actually, you know what? It circumvents it. So normally, the whole thing about those 80s action movies, like what, Arnold gets a scratch in Predator or something. His t-shirt is Bruce Willis's t-shirt is basically just completely white, and then at the end of it's brown. It's bloody brown, saturated with oil, the blood, sweat, tears, everything, and that. So he's taking damage. He's limping out. He's limping because of his feet. He's got a thrown out back. He's partially deaf in one ear because of the gunfire and explosions in this movie. It's like real life. Like he can't,
Yeah.
So
Well, I guess that's a debate that'll never end. Is this or isn't it a Christmas movie? I say no. You seem to say yes.
we visit the non-alternative, or how you want to phraseology you want to use, of Christmas movies that aren't typical Christmas movies.
Right.
But I'll take this over any of those Hallmark movies any day
Oh,
on
for
the
sure.
Hallmark Channel. You know what I'm talking about.
No doubt. No doubt. Well, that's the end of our podcast, dude. We've talked about Die Hard. We've gone into it at pretty great length. Anything else you want to say about Die Hard?
Let us know if you want us to expand on the lesser sequels. Great movie. Watch it with your kids. It's really not. It's pretty tame for this day and age, even though it was rated R back then.
Yeah, it wasn't so bad.
Yeah, you'd be surprised what movies are. My son likes what is it, Maximum Overdrive? We found that comical, and at one time that was supposed to be a horror movie. So
All right. Well, let us know what movie you want us to deep dive into, and maybe we'll do it. Maybe not. Depends on if we think it's going to be good or not. Look forward to us in the future. We'll continue to do more movies, and we'll see you guys next time. Take it easy, everybody.